So since it is the happiest of Halloweens, it's a 2 for 2 today. Because we're
Or 2 for 1.
Or a 2 for 1. You're right. A 2 for 1.
Don't worry about it, everyone. Just don't worry about it.
Just go along with it. It's fine. It's
Yes.
fine. 2 for 1.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
See dead people.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie.
And Nikisha.
Where we share our love for all things scary and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone. Well, we have reached the day happiest of Halloweens.
Happy Halloween!
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Oh my god! We're saying the same thing at the same time! Whoa.
Yes.
That was really funny.
That was amazing.
Same brain, same melted horror brain. Well, of course, today is a glorious day, a fun day for this podcast, especially because that's what we do, talk about horror and Halloween all the time. And so since it is the happiest of Halloweens, it's a 2 for 2 today. Because we're
Or 2 for 1.
Or a 2 for 1. You're right. A 2 for 1.
Don't worry about it, everyone. Just don't worry about it.
Just go along with it. It's fine. It's fine. 2 for 1, because we're doing double duty, and we're talking. We're taking it back with the Universal Monster movies, Dracula and Frankenstein.
Ooh, it's alive.
I got fangs. Ah.
Oh. That is Dracula's most popular line, yeah.
In the movie.
I got fangs.
Fantastic. Excited to talk about these movies. They were both released in 1931. Dracula was directed by Todd Browning, and Frankenstein was directed by James Whale. Mm-hmm. And they both share some actors, which was really fun to see. Dwight Frye and Edward Van Sloan were appearing in both Frankenstein and Dracula. Dracula is played by Bela Lugosi, and Frankenstein is played by Colin Clive, with the monster being played by Boris Karloff. So spoilers if you have not seen the original Dracula Frankenstein. And Jamie, hit us with some trigger warnings.
No excuses, though. These came out a while ago.
Well, a while. You should have some knowledge, even if you haven't watched the whole thing, you know. But yes, Jamie, please hit us with some trigger warnings.
Vampires, monsters, science fiction, murder, attacking people,
women not being listened to ever at any circumstance.
Literally
at any
ever. Oh god. I mean, a lot of references, like just not using language that we might use today to describe certain things, like how they treat Renfield.
Yes.
But it is, I mean, it was really interesting watching Dracula, having seen Renfield and like the connections that they drew, because we'll get into it, but I've never seen these OG Universal Monster movies before now, so
yeah,
it was a good watch. Child death.
Oh yeah.
I
forgot about that.
The drowning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just more attacking people. Like trying to think. Nothing is like super gruesome.
Yeah.
No, there's no insides on the outsides.
No.
For this. Yeah. Very tame.
Yeah. Bavarian dancing.
Yes.
Yeah.
A
Mhm.
whole lot of it.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Fantastic. Is that? I think that probably covers all of it. Yeah.
Probably.
I think
Yeah.
Fire?
Yeah.
there's
Burning?
fire.
Yeah. Electricity?
Yes.
I'm really
Thunderstorms.
reaching now.
Right.
Thunderstorms? Yeah.
Blood.
Yeah, some blood mob mentality.
Yes, Evil
yes.
Dies Tonight for sure.
Evil Dies Tonight. OG Evil Dies Tonight or Kill the
Mhm.
Beast.
The OG. That's all that I could think about, Brian. Wow. I was
Yeah,
like,
this
Beauty
is
and
the
Beast.
OG. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, before we get into things, producer Brian, please give us some words.
Of course. Happy Halloween, everybody. We have been waiting for this all year, even though every day here on Talking Horror is Halloween.
Yes.
We're happy that it's actually Halloween, and we're happy that you're joining us for Halloween as we talk about these Universal monsters. We are on YouTube, so you can see us if you're watching. Hi, YouTube. You can see
What's
my
up?
Halloween Eyes shirt.
Oh, that's cute. I was wondering what that was because I can only see the top. What's the
Oh
top?
yeah, the top is him as a little
Is
kid at the
him,
beginning of
yeah.
the movie when he goes on his first
With
killing
the
spree.
mask. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the second one is Dr. Loomis, then it's Michael Myers, then it's Laurie Strode.
Oh, gorgeous.
As I show you my belly. And we also are wherever you get podcasts. But what we would love, a Halloween gift to us, would be if you followed us on social media at Talk Horror Pod. We would love that. We are watching there's so many movies. I'm trying to watch as many as I can and do a little bit of the reviewing for you there. We're doing fun lists, and it doesn't stop today on October. The fun is just beginning. So definitely check that out. And I'm super excited for you to join us there. Yeah, I think that's it. Happy Halloween. We're super excited to have you here.
Yeah, it seems like this year for horror specifically, they kind of saved the better ones for towards the end of the year. So keep listening, guys, because we're going to be covering some good stuff coming out. Yeah.
Especially like this year started off really bad with Night Swim. And
Yes.
like it's really picked up a lot.
But that's like that's the way that it goes. I feel like with horror, they kind of dump a lot of their. It doesn't happen 100% of the time, like
No.
Megan, but like
Mithrigan,
sorry,
of course.
Mithrigan.
Yeah.
But we did see a Mithrigan at the Fall Fest this weekend. That was a great costume.
Yeah.
We should talk about that. But
We will.
but yes, there's a lot of dumping of not so great movies in January, unfortunately.
And then they just kind of like spread it out throughout the year.
Yeah,
totally.
and then then you have the rest of the year, and I feel like they like wait for this time to release the goodies.
Yeah, definitely a lot of
Yara's
goodies.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. Well, you already brought it up, so let's talk about the Fall Festival. What was that? Where was that at?
So we were in Philly, and that was on East Passyunk. But Nikisha, remember when you were here 2 years ago for Halloween? And it was the same thing, but it's way bigger now. Because when we went, it was really just that like one little parking lot, and you just go into all the stores.
Yes.
This year, like there were tents and everything lining the streets. Way more of like a craft festival with lots of cool Halloween decor and Halloween things to buy. So that was really fun, and there were a lot of kid activities. So we were seeing a lot of really cool costumes. Someone did a full Five Nights at Freddy's like Freddy costume. As Jamie said, we saw that was a real good one. We saw Mithrigan, but a lot of other ones were like, it's funny to see what kids want to dress as or what their parents make them dress as, like the differences between those. And it's very cool. And Jamie got some really cool stuff.
I got these earrings, these Mothman earrings, little moths.
Cute.
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
I got these little ghost studs that glow in the dark.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I also have these pins here. I got Brian allowed me to bring this Ouija board pin into the home. I got it because the little planchette is its own little separate piece that's attached by a chain.
That's cute.
And then I also got this ghost with its butt sticking out, and it says booty.
I am obsessed with that. That is the cutest thing. I love little
So,
stuff
yeah.
like that. It's like I don't wear pens, but I would buy all of them. Maybe put them on like the backpacks like the cool kids do.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
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 I love a trinket. I love a
Yeah.
Trinket.
collectible. Yeah, give me all the things. I'm
Same.
into it. Yeah.
That and candles, and you got me. I'm there. I'm there all
There were a lot of
day.
candles, let me tell you that.
Oh, there were
Man.
so many candles. There were candles in glass jars shaped like skulls. There were candles. There were just so many candles. I can't even
Dreams.
describe to you how many candles there were.
Okay, I might have to sit Venmo you money. So you give me a skull candle, please. I love that. That sounds like so much fun. Yeah, when I saw
It was a good time.
the social media post about it, I figured it was the same place that
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
went to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. So what
Um,
have you guys watched this week?
Okay. So what we've watched is we obviously watched Frankenstein and Dracula, but we also watched Bride of Frankenstein. On
Yes.
Peacock. It auto played as the next one, and we just kept watching it. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. We'll talk about that one in relation when we talk about the other ones.
For sure.
I watched Caddo Lake.
What is
It
that?
was released on Max. It's way more science fiction drama than it is horror movie.
Oh, okay.
But I enjoyed it. It's fine, very predictable. But emotionally impactful at the end. We talked about, we saw Alien Romulus. We talked about that last time,
Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then what we started to do tonight, I had never seen them, but Jamie grew up with them. We started watching the like middle trilogy for the Halloween movies. So we watched Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. We literally paused Halloween 5, Revenge of Michael Myers, to record this episode. And
Nice.
and then we'll watch Halloween 6, and then we're gonna move on to H2O and Resurrection.
Yeah, because
Those ones I have not seen.
Oh, Resurrection and H2O.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because doesn't 4 start a different timeline?
No, so
It
okay.
continues from 2.
Oh, okay.
So both this trilogy and H2O and Resurrection are all sequels to Halloween 2. However, they ignore each other. So they're different timelines, both sequels to Halloween 2.
Okay. They're both sequels, but they are not interconnected. Like
No,
4
they ignore
Resurrection
each other
H2O.
completely.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that's the stuff we watched, but more importantly, we caught up with Agatha All Along. And it's
Yes.
really good. It's super witchy fun. It has one of the best Marvel TV episodes of any of the television shows.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
really good. And I don't think you need to have watched a lot of other stuff to like fully understand it and appreciate it. But like I think it's witchy vibe enough that like you could get a lot of fun out of it without knowing the ins and outs of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you just watched WandaVision, would that be enough to get you through Agatha All Along?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, totally.
Okay. I need to start it. So Max, Hulu, and Disney have a bundle, and so I'm about to end the separate accounts I have of those and get that bundle, and then I'll be able to watch Agatha All Along because I really want to watch it. Because Patti LuPone, musical theater kids out there, she's in it, and I fully support everything that she does. So
yeah,
you know what else she was in?
What?
That I finished all
of.
of.
Oh yeah, I totally. That feels like 4 weeks ago, but it was like 2 days ago. Yeah,
I finished American Horror Story Coven. I think I watched it on like 2 or 3 days.
She's in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That okay.
I did not know that.
These shows, there's so much going on. I don't understand it, but it really is unhinged. But I do remember really liking that one. It is wild and absurd though upon a rewatch, and she is in it. She's like the Bible thumping neighbor next door. Yeah, so that was super weird.
Yeah.
And then Brian got to see the iconic lines at the end.
I did.
Yeah, the meme lines. The only one you missed is when Emma Roberts, spoilers for American Horror Story Coven, but when Emma Roberts comes back from the dead, she's like, "Hey bitch, I bet you thought you saw the last of me," which always makes me laugh. And then the last episode when what's her face dies and her last word is Balenciaga, which I don't really want to yell because baby.
Yes.
And then the other line when what's her face is dead and he's like, this house smells of cat piss and fish. What is this? Naughty pine.
What?
I fucking forgot about those parts.
Yeah,
And
so-
yep, it was a real nice bow on the end of a very wild season that
It was a
I'm
very
glad I
wild
rewatched
rewatch.
it.
And
Yeah,
I had
very.
never seen Coven. I've only seen the first season and the circus season the carnival seasons for whatever reasons.
Mhm.
Every single episode that I walked in on Jamie watching, or if I watched them with her, I was like, "Is this the finale?" She's like, "No, there's like 3 more left." Every episode felt like the season finale. That's how
Oh, wow.
wild every episode
They're just
was.
so, but that's
But that's Ryan Murphy,
from what I
right?
remember is what it is like every season is just like packed with so much stuff, and it's just a lot. Like there's one episode
Yeah.
that starts out and it feels like a Stevie Nicks music video. I also was like, oh, they do like the 7 like tests or whatever for like most of it. No, that's like the finale. I thought that they did the 7 wonders thing. Have you watched it, Nikisha?
Only the first couple of episodes. I didn't know
Okay.
Patti LuPone was in it. So.
Yeah.
Fair.
It's like very weird. Also because like it references Madame Lalaurie in New Orleans, who like tortured slaves, and then Voodoo is in it as well.
Yep.
Marie
Angela
Laveau's in
Bassett.
it. Yep. And she's really great in it. But I was
Yeah.
like, Kathy Bates is so weird. And then Jessica Lange is just like always doing her thing. And
Mhm.
yeah, she's the one who was like, naughty pun.
Now I have to. I must.
Is that did I do a good job, Brian, at her line?
Excellent. Yes, excellent.
Now you
Oh
make.
my
Now I
God.
want to start again and rewatch. I don't know why I stopped.
honestly,
I just watched the first couple. Yeah.
Because it gets unhinged, and there's like a point where you're just like, I can't anymore. This was like unhinged, but like just keeps it together just enough where I'm like, I'm gonna watch this to the end. And it did really entice me to start another season. But I'm like, nah, that's how you get me, Ryan Murphy. You always start off and you get me, but then it just goes so off the rails that I'm like, I can't. I guess I'm a completionist, but like I just can't.
Oh, for sure. It was like
Beyond
this is
anything
enough.
I can finish. Yeah.
Also,
Yep.
after watching 7 seasons of Scandal, a one-off season here or there feels like a vacation.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's nice
fair.
that it's all contained in its own thing. So I'm like, I just
Right.
watched one season and like it's done. But also apparently it's not, because apparently they're back in like another random season later on. So that's why I was like, oh, I get to hang out with my friends again. Do I
Naughty
revisit?
Right.
Naughty pine.
Love is a liberty. Do you smell that naughty pine? Yeah.
Oh, Brian. I can't. That's
we
fantastic.
say that all. Yeah, it's like
Sally
it's just
Langston. What a
do
character.
really
Love is a liberty.
lovers of liberty.
Oh, gorgeous. Okay, well now
Mhm.
I'll have to watch the season and report back because I only have watched season 1 and 1984 in completion. But other than that,
84 is the camp one, right? The sleepaway
Yeah.
camp one? Yeah.
I
it's
never
a
saw
slasher.
that
and-
one. Yeah, I saw
right. Yeah, of
Roanoke,
course.
which is also very weird. Also,
Mm.
Kathy Bates being like really unhinged.
It's Kathy.
Anytime
Bates.
she's in it, it's just like, what is happening?
Right, I'm sure. Fantastic. Well, have y'all watched anything else, or that has been the bulk of your?
No,
You've watched a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yes.
What have you been up to?
Fantastic. Oh, nothing. Absolutely
Oh
nothing.
no.
I don't even know what day it is, y'all. So I really don't be remembering anything. Someone asked me about something that happened last week, and I'm like, "What happened last week? I don't know." And they were like, "Oh, you had this." It's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." So I'm just existing right now.
Yeah,
on
okay.
This
Hey,
earth.
you're doing great.
But I did watch Dracula and Frankenstein, and that's what we're here for.
Nice.
So
Yep.
let's get a 2-minute plot summary.
What's the plot?
Yes.
For each of these, so 2 minutes for Dracula, 2 minutes for the Frankenstein.
Or do you just want 4 minutes
let's do
to like
4
get it all
minutes.
out?
And
Right.
it's up to me to prioritize my time.
Great. Do you want any time warnings?
Yeah, you can give me a 2-minute warning and then a 30-second.
Okay.
Gorgeous.
You got it.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Producer Brian, you have 4 minutes on the clock to tell us everything about our good old Universal monster friends, Dracula and Frankenstein.
Okay.
Ready, steady, go.
So Dracula is the first one I'm going to do. It starts out with Renfield going to this Hungarian village and everyone being like in Hungarian. They're like, no, don't go see him. He's a vampire. And he's like, no, I have to do some real estate business. And so he meets Dracula and Dracula pretends to be his own carriage person. And then Dracula ends up getting the lease for some place in London and then like messes Renfield up. And then we're in London and Renfield is put into an insane asylum. He's his familiar. And then Dracula kind of just like becomes one of like the noble people and he's going after this one family, the Harkers, and like he's kind of in love with Mina and Mina's best friend. And then Mina's like there's a lot of like boring like stuff in there, and Dracula's like attacking people, and the Harkers like for whatever reason like don't close windows and doors, like their French doors are open the whole time, and Dracula comes in and out. Like, come on, like anyway. Dr. Van Helsing is there, and he's like, this guy is a 100% vampire. I'm like, is he? Also, he says he turns into a wolf and a bat, and then what Mina's husband or fiance is just like, what is this bat doing? I'm like, did you not listen to the doctor? Anyway, long story short, they realize that he is a vampire. He really messes up with the family. He scares a lot of them. He turns Mina, and Mina ends right. It's Mina. He turns Mina, and then Mina's like, I can't love you anymore, Harker, because like I just don't have it in me because I'm a vampire now. So and they kill Dracula without showing it, which is like lame. That's the end of Dracula. But he's like really scary, and it's a good performance by Bela Lugosi, obviously. Okay, Frankenstein, you have Fritz, obviously our good guy Fritz, and Henry Frankenstein, which is not Victor from the books, which makes no sense, but that's fine. Anyway, he's obsessed. He's like George Surratt, like Sunday in the Park with George, obsessed with creating this monster, and his fiance Elizabeth is like, I haven't seen him forever. It's like, okay, this makes no sense, but that's fine. And so he's trying to build someone from scratch, as we all know, and Fritz steals the abnormal brain versus the regular brain, and then so they create this monster. It's alive, all of that, and then the monster kind of escapes, and he goes on a spree through town. He accidentally kills a little girl by throwing her into a lake. And then the whole town is up against him, and he hates fire, so they're chasing him with fire. And then he ends up in a local windmill where he fights with Frankenstein. The monster fights with Dr. Frankenstein. He throws him out, but he survives, and they burn him to death in there. And I have a minute left, so let's do Bride of Frankenstein. Bride of Frankenstein is honestly, the star of Bride of Frankenstein is Henry Frankenstein's maid, and like housekeeper, who is an unhinged, campy drag queen, as far as I'm concerned. And then anyway, long story short, he survives. The monster survives as well. He doesn't want to. And then another man who created little people in cans and stuff like that, who grows brains from scratch, says, hey, let's team up and build another person. Frankenstein says no. The guy ends up having Frankenstein kidnap Elizabeth, his fiance, forces him to make a bride of Frankenstein. They do. Frankenstein learns to talk from a blind man, and they build him a bride. The bride hates him and starts screaming, and then Frankenstein kills himself and the bride because they're monsters and they shouldn't be alive. The end.
And that's the plot.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I mean, also these movies are like what, an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, not
Very
even.
short.
Yeah, they're
And
like, yeah.
not even a lot of things are happening within the hour and 15 minutes. A lot of dead space,
No.
a lot of dead air.
A lot of
Happening.
no pun intended, a lot of dead air and dead
A
space,
lot of
but
dead
like,
air.
yeah, we'll talk about all that for sure.
Yes. So let's get into it with our first segment, likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Jamie, would you like to go first? Since this is your first time watching both, yes?
Yeah. Yes. So this was my first time watching both. So I'll start with Dracula. We watched Dracula and then we watched Frankenstein. Dracula, I I was like, I think I said it out loud to Brian. I was like, if I'm ever in a place and like every single person in this place is like, don't go there, don't do that thing, like I'm gonna listen to them.
Yeah.
But I did find
Don't
it really
go.
funny that Renfield is just like, no, it's fine, we're doing business, as if
Yeah.
that suddenly is
Oh,
supposed
of
Because
course.
it's like we're meeting at midnight and all this
Yes.
stuff. And
No,
it's like,
and-
what
I
is
was like,
business?
Yeah.
I don't know, in our current capitalist forward society, like
Okay, fair.
that felt real. But Renfield is definitely a standout character in the OG Dracula, just like
Yes.
completely unhinged. And like the also because you get like both versions of him before he's a familiar and then like when he's the familiar, and it's like just so absurd. And yeah, very bizarre. And then wasn't
Mhm.
there that guy that was talking to uh who was in the sanatorium? I'm trying
Yeah.
to remember, but like there was a guy who had like a really funny accent because we kept
Yeah.
Oh, it was
being
It was like
they
a
were
Cockney
very
accent.
exaggerated
Yeah, he's like,
accent.
hey boy,
Yes.
why are you escaping? Don't eat
Yes.
that bug. Yeah, I was.
Very excessive Cockney accent.
my
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was amazing.
It was
He was the star of that film. He was
Yes.
the real MVP of that film. 100%.
Oh, that was so funny. But also,
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
oh, they never really explain why he wants to eat the bugs. But they do give the explanation. Or at least they make up an explanation in Renfield, which I kind of like. But like,
Mhm.
again, I shouldn't be using that movie to like add context to this movie when this one came out first and a very
yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah.
But also like I can see how this movie might have been like so scary. And I think that's because of Bela Lugosi is just like really hypnotizing.
Mhm.
Like very like you kind of said that there's a lot of like air and space in this, which there is. I do think that I liked Frankenstein more than Dracula. But I do think that like it's just like a really iconic performance without really needing to do that much. Just kind of being
Fair.
dark and brooding. I love the I call them the Morticia Adams
Eye
camera
effect?
with the
Yeah.
lights. Yes. I really enjoy that, where it's just like trying to give you that like piercing gaze on you. That I like that they're able to do that with the lighting. I did kind of find it funny when Mina does get like turned into a vampire and like is just kind of being real weird.
Yes.
But I kind of found it funny. Like it was like that felt kind of campy. And like the scene with like the crucifix and she's like, stay away. Like that whole
yes.
part was like very funny.
Mhm.
But I do feel like kind of the middle was a little bit slow, like before it kind of gets to that point. So yeah, I think overall, like even if maybe my attention span is also way teeny tinier these days, but
Yeah.
even if it wasn't like totally capturing my attention the whole time, I can also see how, I mean, like this is something that's referenced a million times over, and you can see where like all of the origins of everything is like emboldened by this. So like I can always appreciate, even if it's like not necessarily for me or not my favorite thing ever, I can appreciate where an origin of a character or of like a genre kind of comes from. And like there's just so much that comes out of this performance, this story, multiple characters. So like I do appreciate that, even if it kind of felt slower for me. There's just a lot of chatting back and forth. Like even I was kind of disappointed by Van Helsing as a character, like for what he becomes in like other iterations again.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. He just, I don't know. I expected him to be a little bit more I don't know, just more. He was just like another guy who just like happened to have all this information on and like was like, yeah, you just do this, or like I just know this, and it was like, how, like, but why and how, and like, but like you're being really like blasé with like all of it. I don't know. So that was the only kind of like more mellow performance that I wish had a little bit more gravitas. But I'll pause because I don't know. Do we want to just talk about Dracula and then, or should I just move into Frankenstein?
You just do Frankie.
Okay, good old
Frankie. Same brain.
So yeah, so I've never seen Frankenstein, but I have seen Young Frankenstein. Again, it's like I've seen all these other movies that use this movie as a template and then like are parodying it or like referencing it. So I didn't realize how many things are like directly taken from this and like made, obviously parodied, but like again, I hadn't seen it, but like when they're zooming in on the brains of like normal versus abnormal, it is really funny. And it's like, dang guy, like you just didn't read, like Fritz, what are you doing?
What are you doing? But that Jamie, I literally thought that exact same thing in that scene. And the whole time I was just thinking about Young Frankenstein. But that scene in particular, I was
but
just
also,
dying
why
laughing.
did he take the top off of the glass jar that the brain was in?
Right.
Like the first brain. Like that didn't make any sense.
Just take the jar and leave.
Yeah, take the whole jar. I don't know why, I never really thought too much about Frankenstein's look, but he's got like he's got like a 6 head. He's got like the biggest
Jamie, please.
He's just got a huge forehead. And I was trying to figure out, like, I get that, like, okay, you know, he's a man made out of different parts, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it should be a pretty relatively average-sized head. Why is his head so
like
long and
Yeah.
yeah. And then the hair, it's just, like, there's so much. Anyway, it's just very, very long face. I did really like the scene with the little girl when he accidentally throws her into the water. But I also was like, I don't blame Frankenstein. He's not the problem in this situation. Like that, I was like fully aligning myself with this poor monster, because who's leaving this little girl who can't swim all by herself next to the fucking body of water? What are you doing?
If you're going to choose to live by a body of water, it is your job as a parent to make sure that your child has water safety and knows how to swim. I don't care if it's 1931. I don't care if it's 2024. Water safety is of the highest importance when you have a child, because water is unforgiving. And and that's water safe. That's our TED Talk on water safety.
Right.
Yeah.
A monster water safety. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of what else I really liked about this movie. I mean, I think just the really like headstrong, I need to play God kind of vibe was really interesting, because it's like I've never felt this way, but man, this guy really just needs to make something.
He really feels that way.
And you know, but like it's seeing someone's determination to that extent and like where it all goes wrong, and like to then follow it up with the sequel was really interesting, just because of like what's the lasting impact that this whole experience has had on him, aside from like being tossed out of a windmill that's on fire and the entire like mob of people being pissed. Which none of them seem to be pissed at him, which also I was super curious about.
Yes.
Like there was
that
a
is
lot
very
of things where
interesting.
I was like, huh, like they're all, evil dies tonight, but they're not blaming the actual person who created this problem, which was Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Right.
And he doesn't really say anything. Like in the scene where the father like brings the little girl and is like, calling for justice, and the guy was like, I'll bring you justice, or whatever he says. And then they're like, we're creating the mob, and Frankenstein is there, and he like gets assigned to one of the groups. And no, I was really expecting people to like start yelling at him, and no one says anything, and they're just going along with him, and they even go to help him when he's like calling out for help. Like I just thought all of that all really shocked me as the person who created this whole mess.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, like, there are a lot of British people in Bavaria. Like, why are they all in Bavaria? Like, that's so crazy. Also, like, if you were this like small town village in Bavaria and these like English people are like, I don't know what, teaching at your university or so, whatever the case is there, and they create a monster and the monster starts killing the people of your Bavarian town,
Right.
like I'd be so mad at the system, at the man, at this white guy who's coming into my town building monsters and then like the letting the monsters roam free. Like this is insane.
And stealing things from this classroom.
Yeah.
Right.
Who are the students there? None of the students look Bavarian. Like I don't know. There's a lot of questions I have about the setting of this and the Bavarian people.
No, but also too, Jamie, you just talking about like, and they're stealing all the things, and the teacher is just kind of like, yeah, well, my student's just a little obsessed, like it's fine. It's like, sir, he stole 2 brains. Like what's happening here? Yes.
And left a mess. Like left a whole brain on the ground.
Yes.
Which like is also I'm pretty sure that like they're like it's bad obviously because it's bad, but it's bad because I think like you're not really supposed to touch brains, like human brains. Like there's like not good stuff in them. I remember learning something about that because I took a brain and behavior class in college, and we did learn about brains, but we were around like rat brains and things like that. We were never around a human brain because I think it's like toxic and not good to be around. So just saying, just leaving a brain out. And shattered glass everywhere. I have questions.
Right. All this juice is everywhere. No thanks. Yeah.
Man,
anyway.
I hated Fritz. Like Fritz, like you'd think that you'd find the like sidekick charming, even though whatever. Fritz was a real piece of shit, and he deserved everything he got. The way that he was taunting the monster, I
was ready for him to go, and like also as like a juxtaposition to Renfield. I was like, man, Fritz really stinks. Renfield's great. All the props to Renfield's down with Fritz. Like he was awful.
But yes, for that actor, he played both sides, and it was great. Yeah.
But I think those are all of my thoughts.
Yeah.
Good thoughts.
Good thoughts. Producer Brian, go ahead.
Sure. So I've seen these movies a lot, but I have not seen them recently. I'm talking like a long time, like maybe since I was in middle school. And for me, Frankenstein held up. Dracula did not. I think the Bela Lugosi, like Jamie said, it's just slow and boring. And quite frankly, the Lugosi performance is good in moments, but everything around that is just like kind of blah, except for the Renfield stuff. I think that movie is desperately lacking the score. Like, both of these movies did not have scores, obviously.
Right.
But I thought that Dracula was that was missing from Dracula, where Frankenstein was still wildly engaging without the score behind it.
Agreed.
I think that the thing is, so there's 2 ways to look at this. Historically, awesome. If I was a kid in 1931 or anyone in 1931 and I watched these movies, I would have been like, wow, like so cool. They're bringing my favorite books to life, whether they're accurate or not. Like these are awesome. like all in on these. Like even when I was a kid and watching them, I was like, cool, like, you know, and there are so many more Frankenstein movies after this, and things that are based on Frankenstein. There are so many Dracula vampire movies after this one. But like this one and Nosferatu, like set the rules, like the movie rules, if you will. Not, you know, obviously these are both based on books, and then there have been plays of the books, and I think the Frankenstein is based on one version of the play. Anyway, besides that, like I'm talking strictly about like the movie rules and reaching the masses in a different way. But the Dracula, you know, one is, you know, fine. And I think it was just missing some of the in between stuff. Also, I didn't know Dracula's plan. Like he just like starts to like talk to those people. Like he never explicitly states like, I want to take over the wealthy people. I want all of them to be vampires. I want to take over London. Dracula had no motivation for me. He was just like doing like vampire things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why it was harder to attach myself to what was happening plot wise in that movie versus Frankenstein, where like I know the Dr. Frankenstein's motivation. I know the monster's trying to figure out who he is, how this all works. Like that is way more engaging to watch on a fundamental level than just like watching a vampire do vampire-y things with no real reason in Dracula. Yeah, they leave way too many doors open in Dracula. Oh, the movie felt like 2 hours, even though it was an hour and 10 minutes.
Yes.
Frankenstein, I really enjoyed this time. Totally held up for me. I liked I thought the camera work was beautiful in it. Oh, the matte paintings in both of these, like all the background paintings were just gorgeous and spectacular. I wrote some really weird. I don't even remember what any of these notes mean. I thought the prologue was cool, where it was kind of like someone stepping out in front of the curtain and being like, "This may be too scary for you." I thought that was super cool. Also, to say what Jamie said and agree with it, all the Young Frankenstein stuff just popped out even harder this time because I've seen Young Frankenstein more than I've seen Frankenstein for sure.
Yeah.
I love the question mark for who played the monster. I thought that was delightful.
Yes, that was cute.
That was cool in the credits.
Yeah, there was a silly plot with finance. I loved it. There's always something to do with finance in these movies or whatever it is. Crazy am I? Like some of the lines that Frankenstein. He's really good in this movie. In Clive, and then I wrote Fritz is a piece of shit. I wrote Burgermaster. I don't remember why I wrote Burgermaster.
Master.
Because
that's
they
the
said
person.
It.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
the guy.
Yes,
Virgo
right.
Master.
I was
Air
that just made
Vogel.
me laugh. Yeah, he's the Burgermaster.
I wrote Burger
Oh my god, I love when it reminded me of when we saw Vertigo when they were like, "Oh, he fainted. Here's some brandy. Wake him up." Or he was attacked by the monster. Give him some brandy. It'll make him feel better.
It'll make him feel better.
Yeah, I like that he learns his lesson. I think it's cool that Dr. Frankenstein learns his lesson, and then it's like I thought that, and it carries through the second movie too, which I was like really appreciative of. The second one feels like a real sequel, and it's like I really like that about it.
Well, it also I think it's like immediate after this one,
Those
so
events,
like it feels like a sequel because it just like literally goes from the ending of the first one.
Because Bride of Frankenstein opens with an actress the same actress Ilsa who plays
Elizabeth?
who plays the Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay.
Plays Mary Shelley in a prologue.
Oh, right. You were like, what's happening?
I forgot
and I was like,
about this.
I was like, that's Mary Shelley. Like it's Mary and Byron. Like that's got to be her, right? And you're like, what?
Yeah,
it was.
So they were both like, "You wrote such a wonderful book." She's like, "Oh, this is what happened at the end of my first book, just to catch you up. But let me tell you what happened immediately after that." And it goes into Bride of Frankenstein.
Got it.
With all the like people being like, "We killed him," and then someone's like, "Oh no, he's not dead!" Like like that type of thing.
Because we're currently watching Halloween 5. it reminded me, when I was laughing because I was like, oh, look, he's in the river and like escaping from whatever like fake death he just ended on, because it also starts immediately after.
Yeah.
It's like
In
the
the
same
river.
thing in Frankenstein where
Yeah.
Oh,
he
yeah,
escapes
yeah.
out of the thing and is like sneaking up behind the other guy. Anyway, I was just thinking of comparisons between these sequels.
Yes.
Yeah. The
Yeah, because
other
it's the father, right, of the dead girl that's like his first kill in the second one in Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein.
I don't remember who. It's some guy.
wait, what do
Okay.
you
I think
Who's
in the
who's the guy? Who's the
Yeah,
first kill?
the father
The
of the
father
kid
of
in the
the
first,
okay, I
dead
couldn't
girl. Yeah.
remember.
Okay.
He's like, I want to see the ball.
Oh, if we're gonna talk about the father of the girl, it is a huge leap for him to think that somebody came and threw his daughter into the
Yes,
water.
yes.
he was like, she was murdered.
It's like,
I was
you
like,
don't know that.
know?
She doesn't know how to
Do you
swim.
know?
Right.
He didn't see the monster with like. Yes, we could do like maybe he saw someone walking away, but he doesn't ever say anything like that. He's just like, she was
No.
murdered. Like, oh, it must have been that monster. It's like, how do you even know about the monster? Anyway,
Right. Exactly. Agreed.
but the kid, to quote Jamie, that's some great dead acting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
she
she
was
was
just
so
hanging
limp
there.
for so
Yeah.
long.
For so long.
Yeah,
That was
good for her.
Totally good for her.
Get your bag,
But
little girl.
I liked Frankenstein. I like Frankenstein better than Dracula. And I liked Bride of Frankenstein better than both of these.
Oh, work. Okay.
Yeah,
It's just pure camp. Also,
it was very campy.
yeah. Also, so James Whale directed Frankenstein and directed Bride of Frankenstein. He was famously gay. And so these movies are very queer coded. And they're better for that. They just feel, the Frankenstein movies just feel like something else is going on in the background. And I love that about it.
And Minnie was an excellent character.
Minnie was a spectacular character. She's just screaming. She's like, no, he's alive. Oh, at one point oh my God. At one point she goes, he's alive. He's going to kill all of you. They're like, no, he's dead. We killed him.
Okay.
And she goes, you know what? Fine. I'm going to leave this alone because he's going to come and kill you at night, and walked away. It's amazing. Just truly a great character. And then she sees him again. And oh man, wonderful character.
But they're face to face in the beginning, and she just like sees him, and then she's like,
Oh my God, it's so good.
I need to watch it now.
Great character. Definitely a great movie.
And the Bride of Frankenstein is very bird-like, which for some reason I really she's like, as soon as she is like alive, she's just like, huh, like just like turning her head. She's not saying huh. She's not saying anything. She just screams, but she's just like constantly like looking all around. Like her movements are like very like, I don't know, staccato. Does that make sense? Like she's just like very like and then as opposed to Frankenstein, who now can speak at this point and like is more brooding and like, friend, be my friend.
Yeah.
Oh my
also,
God.
Lanchester is spectacular in the movie, and like it's pretty incredible how iconic she is, and she's literally in the movie for not probably
like 5 minutes in the beginning, 5 minutes at the end, like 10 minutes total.
But the bride is only in the movie for like 3 minutes total.
That's what I'm saying. Like like 3 or 5 minutes at the end.
Yeah,
doesn't say anything other than screams.
Now, even just reading the plot summary, I was like, has the bride arrived yet? And it was like the last paragraph. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I guess it doesn't come into the very end of the movie. Okay.
No. And it doesn't really make sense why the sequel is confusing.
The what?
The chain?
No,
the squeakquel.
The squeakquel, yes.
God damn it. I'm gonna leave this call. But like that whole sequence with Dr. Pretorius and his weird tiny creations was so weird. And he's like, look, I made this tiny queen, and then I made a tiny king for him so that they would be together, but he's too into her. So then I made a tiny priest who's annoyed by them, and then I made
Oh
a
my God.
tiny devil.
What?
And doesn't this devil kind of look like me? Oh, weird. And then I made a tiny ballerina, but she's boring because she only dances to one song. And then I think was that all the tiny people, or was there another one?
There were 4, right?
That's
Well, there were
intense.
there
No,
were
it
more,
was
but he only
5.
really introduces the couple of them. I don't remember.
All the ones that I just said.
Yeah. Were there?
Yeah.
Because there's that one shot where it's like all of them in the jars, like in their separate jars.
Yes. And
Yeah.
the king escapes
Yeah,
and he picks him up with the tweezers. It's
Yeah.
so weird. And then he's like, so I'm really good at making small people, but I've never made people back from the dead and regular sized. So I think we should make a friend for Frankenstein. Is literally the plot, and I don't understand why.
So
Right.
I want to read this from Wikipedia momentarily. Gay film historian Vito Russo, in considering Pretorius, this doctor, stopped short of identifying the character as gay, instead referring to him as sissified, sissy itself being a Hollywood code for homosexual. Pretorius serves as a gay Mephistopheles, a figure of seduction and temptation, going as far as to pull Frankenstein away from his bride on their wedding night to engage in the unnatural act of creating non-procreative life, which is a fascinating take on that. And then obviously, a lot of people see this as like, Frankenstein being the gay character, who's like shunned, and then Bride of Frankenstein either being representative like lesbian culture, who like doesn't want to take part in this, or a woman who was horrified that the man doesn't want her, that type of thing. Like there's so much and same-sex marriage, there's so much homosexual subtext to both. I'm talking about Bride now, but of course Frankenstein as well, which is fascinating because apparently James Whale was openly gay, but some of the cast members, and there's a rumor that Colin Clive was closeted, so like there's also a lot of that in there too, which I think is totally fascinating from a historical film perspective, and just like what a lot of these people will bring to these films. And I think that's why Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein feel more textured, because of the meta of it potentially as well.
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree.
Oh man, I forgot about those little people in the jars.
I was like, what? That was so wild. I was just really, yeah. Very interesting stuff.
I definitely need to at least watch that just to see those people, because I can't even conceptualize like what that looks like on screen and what was happening.
Yeah.
But,
surprisingly good for like what it was, but like I was impressed that like the whatever green screenification they did for that scene like looked good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I just think it's interesting because even if James Whale didn't purposefully like put these themes and subtext into it, it's subconscious, and someone who like feels these things deeply and is a part of their everyday life, like it's going to infuse itself into the work whether it was conscious or not.
For sure. I agree. Do you have any other likes for this and gripes?
No, I had a really fun time watching this. Oh, you know what my number one like is? That Jamie and I can now scratch 3 movies off of our scratch offs.
Poster. Yes.
Yeah, because we have to both have seen them. So now that she's seen these, we can do that. We still have to watch a couple more Universal ones on there, but like the 3 is a great number.
That is, yes. Fantastic.
Yeah, you were trying to get us into the next ones already.
I was ready to watch like
Frankenstein versus
Wolfman.
Wolfman.
Wolfman will have to be next. I wait to see what else is on that list, but I like Wolfman, especially with the new one coming out next year, which I'm very excited for.
That looks so good.
That trailer is killer. Did you see the Wolfman trailer in front of Smile 2?
Oh man.
It's really good.
It looks incredible.
Okay. Yeah.
Made by the same Invisible Man director.
Lee
Oh,
Winnell.
nice. Okay.
Yeah, Lee Winnell, who's in Saw.
Yes. The famous first Saw. Yes.
And the Insidious movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I was just going down the rabbit hole too of what the sequels were and
The
how
what?
all of the squeakles were, the
Thank you, thank
screamquels,
you.
and
Cut it
it was
down.
also it was also funny to see that there was a movie called Dracula's House, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
But
Dracula's
it's like
House is
all
one.
of
I like the dance you did for
Dracula's house
house.
because it's Wolfman, Dracula, and Frankenstein, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how do we get here? Like, what's the connection within the
It's
movies
the original
that we
MCU.
now?
We're
Yes,
just all having a party.
Dracula's
You know what?
House.
It just reminds me of that Scooby Doo Halloween
Sure.
episode where they're all like partying at that
Yeah.
Halloween school.
I literally said that we should rewatch the Scooby-Doo movies.
They're so good.
They're fun.
Fantastic. Well, I don't have much to add to the likes and gripes because I feel the same way. I was bored to tears watching Dracula, though I loved how dark the movie was. I know it's like black and white, but you can still
Sure.
tell just how dark it is, and I liked some of the shots. I wanted to see more of his wives. Like, they appear at the beginning,
Yeah,
and then, like,
cool.
disappear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
was like, where are they? What are y'all doing? And did y'all go to London with him? Because then you don't see them ever again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, all the stuff that you said about Renfield, I agree. There was one moment where I was like, this doctor has no consent. Oh, when he took off Mina's scarf and because she didn't want to show the bite marks, and he was just like, give me that scarf, and like took it off of her, and I was like, sir, please, what are you doing?
Rude.
Very rude. I also thought the music not having a underscore was weird and added to it being slow. I've never heard of Wolfbane scaring off vampires. I don't even know if I fully know what Wolfbane is, but they kept saying that along with the crosses and the stake to the heart and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, well, that's part of the lore I didn't know about, but cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I mean, Wolfsbane is like it's a type of flower plant or whatever, but like,
Oh, okay.
I didn't remember that being.
Anything.
That's something that from that's like in a movie where it's like the deep cut fan is like, in a vampire movie, like, Wolfsbane would work,
Right.
yeah, like,
that's exactly it. Be somebody coming out of the woodwork saying that exact thing. But yeah, I just overall thought it was okay. I also liked Frankenstein a lot better. I thought the pacing was a lot better. I loved the warning at the beginning, like we said. I also loved Elizabeth's outfits. She was in some like bangers of some clothes. Those dresses were gorgeous.
Everyone's very well dressed in all of these.
Yeah, and then that bride's dress, that train was so long, but it was so pretty.
I was waiting for Frankenstein to like step on it and for her to like kind of lose balance.
I mean, we cut away from that room. That was a weird scene where she just like runs in circles and like all of a sudden is passed out on the bed. Like, that feels. I know that's. I know that this is 1931. I know there's no score. I know that they're not going to show blood. I know they're not going to show people die. Like, I get all that, but that was just like. A lot of this felt like 1931 shorthand, where I was like, yeah, she just got the vapors and was so scared that she passed away. She passed out. You know, like that felt like that.
Vapors. Yeah. But I agree. It was very just like, what are we doing? Oh, we just have to fill in the blanks for ourselves. Fine. Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
Literally one of my notes said this is already better than Dracula, and I was probably only 30 minutes in.
Sure.
Dracula literally did feel like 2 hours, and I kept checking every 15 minutes, and only 15 minutes had passed.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna be able to get through this.
But there were moments where I was like, I like when he was like really bundled to like trick him as the carriage driver.
Oh yeah. But and I like,
how are you falling for this?
Right. I don't understand. But I also liked,
because he had business.
Well, yes. We got to get those papers signed. Sign them without a line.
Yes, our night business.
Yes. Like, literally the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes I
so silly.
was down with.
Although, you know who's another MVP of the Dracula movie? The Hungarian villager who does all of that excellent exposition of like what vampires are and like who Dracula is. I thought he did an excellent job.
At the beginning when they were riding in the car?
No, when they get out and the guy is
okay.
like, don't go up there because let me explain vampires to you.
Yes. And it was also so, like, everyone, that doctor was so calm in finding out, like, Dracula has no reflection in the mirror, and they just like, look at this. It's like, oh yep, I gotcha. You're a vampire, not like, oh my god, a vampire who could literally kill us all right now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good point. A lot of Dracula outside of Bela Lugosi, most of the Dracula movie is just like white people acting in 1930s. Like this, like we're only going to be like the most calm and it's all like no emotion, no
None.
actual real human being reaction to anything. It's like we're just well off white people in 18 this
Yeah.
or whatever the movie takes place. It's like very like British upper crust, like totally not there. No one's acting like a real person would act in a situation like that. But like that's not why you went to the movies back then.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we briefly talked about, but like the gaslighting for these women, it was really kind of crazy. And just random things I thought about. Why would he carry his dead daughter all the way into town?
That was a really far walk.
Yeah,
very far.
Like you probably have a horse and a cart. I know I understand that you're very upset, and this is very awful. And like you probably aren't thinking all you see is this dead girl, and you're like running to town. But like you could throw in a wheelbarrow, like
yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, but also my favorite too was when Frankenstein is revealed for the first time, and he walks into the room backwards and then turns around because it has to be this big RuPaul's Drag Race reveal
I forgot about
face.
that. Yeah.
And I was
like,
does he so not... dramatic.
Yeah, why? I was like, why is he walking backwards? Is he like freaked out by the door being in his face? Like I was really confused.
He had to have the big reveal, so he had to like turn around.
The moonwalk.
And then my last thing was somebody should have ironed that backdrop when they were chasing him up the mountain because you can just see the wrinkles in the backdrop, and I just thought it was really funny. It took me
amazing
out of it, but I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is how they made the movies back then, which I understand, but somebody's getting fired because that thing should have been ironed better.
I was laughing because when the dogs were barking on the sound stage, their barks were like echoing.
Oh yeah,
in the space. Like it's obvious that like they're on the sound stage and not like in the great outdoors.
In an enclosed space. But
yeah.
Other than that though, I had a good time watching Frankenstein, and I just read the plot summary for Bride. But now I have to go back and watch because
I think you'll genuinely enjoy it. I do.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Does anyone have anything else before we move on?
No, this was fun. It definitely put me in the Halloween October mood, especially Frankenstein.
Yeah. And it's nice to know that we've now watched the OGs, so
yes,
just check off the list. Great. So let's move into our next section, brains, which is very fitting for this.
Oh yeah,
Abby Normal.
That will never not be funny. I need to watch. That's what I want to watch. Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yes.
This, you know what? This had a very watching Scream after being obsessed with Scary Movie vibe. Like,
oh yes.
Like I can't watch Scream without thinking of like Doofy and all of that stuff. But I also can't watch these movies, at least Frankenstein and Young Frankenstein now. Excuse me, Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein without seeing like Gene Hackman as the blind man spilling soup on him, or the Abby Normal. All of it. You're 100% right. Yes.
Yeah. So good. All right. Well, for my first question for brains, it is more referring to the Frankenstein movie, but it brings up the interesting idea of legacy being either like your work versus legacy being your lineage. And both kind of come from the idea of like immortality, right? Like how can we live longer, our legacy? But we're not born into thinking that. So how do you think we get into those mindsets? Like how do the thoughts of legacy land in our brain so much so that in Dr. Frankenstein's case, it kind of controls how he lives and what he wants to be doing, if that makes sense?
Yeah. No, I love this question. Great question.
Yay.
Great question.
Great question.
uh because I do think that like legacy holds different meaning for different people. Like you said, like for some people legacy means like biological, like family, having offspring. For other people it's like the work that you have done, and like it living on forever.
Mhm.
I think for something that comes to mind is and this is like I'm going at more academia, but
Mhm.
the different oh my god, of course now then my entire brain is gonna fall out of my head. uh I'm looking up his name. The stages of development. I'm thinking of Eric Erickson and
Oh
how
yeah.
there's like eight, I think there's eight stages of like psychosocial development. So like we always talk about like trust versus mistrust is like babies, but like you go to the opposite end of the spectrum and it's integrity versus despair, where it's like making sense of like your life and how like the things that you've contributed and what you're leaving behind. And that is more targeted towards like old age, but it is something that's the first thing that came to mind of just like, is it like kind of a period in your life that these thoughts start to come up where like you are older and so you're thinking about like um not necessarily death in some cases, yes, but in other cases like when you have the solid foundation of like support and like your career and all of these things and maybe some family, like do you then start thinking about what's next, and is that then what starts to like plant this seed about like what am I like when I'm done with my own stuff, like what am I leaving behind, what's how will people remember me when I'm no longer
Mhm.
here. And I think those thoughts really come from like all of the other phases of life that we go through having been resolved. That's why it kind of made me think of Eric Erickson. So like again, this is one of the many different like folks who came up with developmental stages and like how we understand like through birth till death how development occurs. um
Right.
and so that's kind of where my brain went. But yeah, I think a lot of those thoughts really come from like when you're feeling more like maybe even satisfied, or not satisfied, because I'm sure for some people it's like without a legacy I'm not going to be satisfied, but I think it's
Mm.
like you've established some elements of your life to some degree, and so now you're looking for like the next thing. And like what beyond what you're securing for yourself right now is like what you're securing for your future, and how does the future without you come into play? Like there will be a time when we are not here, what does that then mean for us? And like thinking
Right.
beyond just like the here and now.
Yeah. No, I
Brian, you
love
look
that.
confused.
No, I'm just very thirsty.
Are you gonna say something really insightful, mind-blowing in that
No, I thought
moment?
you had a great answer. Great answer.
Yes. No. It's
And then I was thinking
always
about
great
like, is
answer,
my
yeah.
legacy thirst?
Not.
Oh. Well, while Brian is getting himself a glass, I'll ask another question, and so he can fulfill his thirst.
Fulfill
So
your thirst.
a lot of this movie treats women, gaslights women. I'll just say that, and it had me thinking because in the it was Frankenstein. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what is Elizabeth? Right before the wedding, she's like, "Oh, I just feel like something is like not right. Something's gonna come between us." And then he's like, "Everything is fine. It's gonna be great. We're gonna be married. Like everything's taken care of." Blah blah blah. So it just had me thinking about anxiety versus intuition. So can you talk about the difference between anxiety and intuition?
Mm.
And do 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 do. Oh, then B sub to that. How can you better assist someone who's dealing with anxiety in the moment rather than just kind of writing it off?
Yeah. I mean, I think that so like anxiety is like a feeling, a stressful feeling, like a feeling of worrying. Um Intuition, I feel like is not necessarily always rooted in like stress. It's more of like gut feelings, and I don't think gut feelings are always necessarily like fearful or stressful.
Mm,
And so like I feel like that's like the difference. But I do think that perhaps if you struggle with anxiety, trusting your gut is harder. It's harder to
mm,
discern like what what signs and signals that you're picking up on that might be influencing how you're feeling in that moment. And that
mhm,
might make it hard. That might cloud your judgment or feel like it's clouding your judgment in like decision making. Um, so that's I can see that kind of feeling more muddy,
for sure.
and harder to like, yeah, harder to trust yourself.
Hmm.
Um, I think like I think kind of pausing and reflecting on what am I thinking about? Like what is the cause of these feelings in this moment? What might be like causing me to feel stress? And then like kind of evaluating them. Like, is this something that is actually like stressful? Is this something that I need to be worrying about?
Right.
Like what other clues have influenced like how I'm feeling about this situation? Um, to kind of like evaluate, is it, based on anxiety that seems not totally grounded in reality, or maybe there was like something weird that actually happened. You're like, oh, that was really weird, like that was a strange thing, and like now
Hmm.
I like I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this as a result.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Is
And
that helpful?
no, it is. First, it made me think of two things. First, I
Hmm.
absolutely agree with you because as someone who has anxiety, it always feels
Mhm.
hard to trust my gut because the difference, it kind of is the similar stressors that are going off for me in
Hmm.
anxiety and like with intuition. So it's hard to be like which one is which. But then it keeps me thinking about Scandal since y'all just finished it because Olivia Pope is always like, trust your gut. I'm trusting my gut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And sometimes her gut wasn't right.
Right.
Like there
Exactly.
were a
Yes.
couple times where like her gut was not to be trusted. And then later on it kind of was just like, I think you're just doing things because you want to do things. And I don't think there's any
Yeah.
Exactly.
gut.
Her gut
I
was
think there's
definitely
no gut.
questionable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
gutless.
Just no guts. Uh
Mm-hmm.
and then that reminds me of the TV show. Anyway, going back to Nickelodeon. Did you ever watch Guts?
Yeah.
Yes, global guts.
Yeah, guts. Do
Yes.
you have it?
Fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
But my sub to that question, Jamie, is so then how can someone kind of better assist if someone is dealing with anxiety in the moment and not just saying like, oh, it'll be okay, you'll be fine, but really kind of like hearing them and listening to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I I always encourage people to ask like how can I support you, or like what would be most helpful for you right now. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have their like go-to ways of like dealing with different situations or problems. Sometimes people are like problem solvers, sometimes people really want to like sit in feelings. Sometimes they want both, sometimes they want neither. So I think like if someone's expressing like stress, anxiety, or just like any kind of reservations, like use that as a point to check in and ask that person what like how you can be supportive to them.
Mm-hmm.
That way they have the autonomy to like decide what actually would be helpful, as opposed to you kind of doing your default response thing. um
Right.
so that's
Agree.
that's what I would encourage.
I love that. They will tell you what they need. Don't just assume.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
And they might not
Fantastic.
know, so
Yeah.
there's that. But I think just offering that is still like aligning
Way more
yourself with
helpful.
them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Great. Well, that's all I have for brains. Should we rotten tomatin?
Rotten
I think that's a
tomato.
great idea.
Woo woo.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Okay.
Woo woo.
Woo woo. So we're gonna do both. Let's just start with Dracula for the heck of it. What do you think Dracula has on Rotten Tomatoes? Nikisha, why don't you go first?
72.
Interesting.
I
Jamie?
don't know.
I'm gonna go higher because it's like a classic movie. I'm gonna guess
Right,
like
yeah.
96.
This has a 94% on Rotten
Mm.
Tomatoes.
Oh my god. Okay.
It has an 82 on the audience score.
Mm.
Fine.
And then the critics' consensus is Bela Lugosi's timeless portrayal of Dracula in this creepy and atmospheric 1931 film has set the standard for major vampiric roles since.
Vampiric.
Vampiric.
Okay.
All right. What do you think Frankenstein has on Rotten Tomatoes?
89.
Jamie?
97.
It also has a 94.
Oh.
And its audience score is 87%. And the critics' consensus is still unnerving to this day. Frankenstein adroitly implores the fine line between genius and madness, and features Boris Karloff's legendary, frightening performance as the monster. I think that's fair. And if anyone was wondering, adroitly means in a clever or skillful way.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah, you never know. All right, let's go back to Dracula. What do we think Dracula has on Letterboxd? Nikisha, let's start with you.
I don't know. This is hard. Like, I feel like people are just rating this because it's classic, like Jamie said, and not
Sure
if it's actually good or not. 4.1.
Jamie?
3.8.
A 3.6.
Okay.
And the three reviews are deliciously dark, atmospheric, but not much else. That's the third most popular. These guys act like they're after Dracula for murdering people, but it's obvious his real crime is being too sexy, and they're jealous about how aroused the women are.
Ha! Yes. That's the movie I want to see.
Mm-hmm. And then the most popular review is I never drink ... wine.
Oh my god. Actually, yes.
Yeah.
That's how long they pause in all the
Yeah.
names.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
All right. What do you think Frankenstein has? Jamie.
3.9.
All right. And Nikisha, what do you think it has?
Just gonna do 4 on the money. A 4.
3.8.
Okay.
And the three most popular reviews are the third most popular is I can fix him.
Ha! Accurate. Yes.
That's iconic.
That is.
The second one's more serious. Monolithic on every level. The way the villager carries his dead child through the town, haunting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have been in the wheelbarrow, but that's
Like,
fine.
no shout out to the girl. She did the best job.
Well,
Right.
the number
Being dead.
one most liked comment on this is, how was he supposed to know the bitch wouldn't float?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
excellent.
Mhm.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because he did.
and if you all care, Bride of Frankenstein on Letterboxd has a 4. And the top comments are the third one's just an emoji with a heart letter. Why couldn't they just leave him alone? Those fucking hunters should have just left him and the blind man alone.
Oh yeah.
In the end, he didn't die, but was saved by water. This was a fun watch. The monster goes on a full killer right away, which is changed in the original, but a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. Oh no, these are recent. These are not the top reviews. My God, I'm so sorry, everyone. I really ruined this whole segment. The third one's a very long one. The second one is Before You Came, I Was All Alone. We Belong Dead. And and then the number one review of this one is, this is about a gay man and a lesbian unknowingly set up on a blind date.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. And then on Letterboxd, this has on Rotten Tomatoes, this has a 98%.
Oh wow. Okay.
An eccentric, campy, technically impressive, and frightening picture, James Whale's Bride of Frankenstein has aged remarkably well. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Should we go into no, we did that already. The four S's. Wow,
Yes.
my brain. I'm Abby Normal.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horns 4 S's.
Cool. All right. The 4 S's are skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. We're going to go through how this handles mental health and human behavior. We're going to go through how scary is it. We're going to go through how much it'll stick with you. And then we'll do suggestions. But Jamie, let's start with you. Let's do both at the same time. So give your skulls for Dracula, and then give your skulls for Frankenstein, so on and so forth.
Sure. So for Dracula, for skulls, you said do all of them and then go to Frankenstein.
Do both skulls.
Skulls.
This. Yeah.
So for Dracula, for skulls, I gave this a 6. Because sometimes, well, one, it's just a different time. It's a different time, friends.
Okay.
But also, there was just moments where I was like, is this really how people interact? And that's why I'm like, it's a different time, but are we really peopling? There were just some very unrealistic interactions, very exaggerated. But again, this is a totally different time, and perhaps this is how everyone was. I just don't know. For Frankenstein, I gave it a 7. I think the thing that like was a real plus was just like the idea of legacy, the idea of playing God. I feel like these are very real drives that people have. And then, with the occasional like questionable.
Right.
For scares, I gave both of them a 1. I don't think that these movies are particularly scary to me personally, but again, I'm sure in this time period, it probably was very disturbing. And as well for both of them for shakes, I gave them both an 8, just because I do think that like these are iconic performances, these are iconic stories. They are truly like the origin framing of so many other monsters beyond this, so it's gonna get some high scoring from me.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah. You were really
great
nice.
Great numbers. Oh,
yes.
Nikisha, why don't you go then? Okay. Spaghetti.
No, I think that's great. I think your reasoning for everything is absolutely perfect, and you are rating it. However, well, you're rating it within the frame of the time period, which I appreciate. However, I did not. I did this based on how I feel right now in 2024.
That's okay.
The Dracula Skulls is a 2 for me. It just, I don't know how the women were and how they were treated, all the things. But a 5 for Frankenstein.
Nice.
It felt like Jamie said, the motivation for things, like the reasoning, you can get behind it. Even if you don't agree with it, you understand why it's happening. also won for scares for both of them,
Yeah.
because they weren't scary. Okay, Dracula is a 2 for shakes for me. I understand the cultural significance. I understand its importance, but I'm gonna never think about this movie. And then 5 for actually no, a 6 for Frankenstein for
Cool.
shakes for me because I had a good time.
For skulls, I gave Dracula 4 and Frankenstein a 6. I gave it a 1 for scares as well for both of them. And then I gave Dracula a 7 and Frankenstein a 9 for shakes. I think it's a lot because of the iconic aspect of it, and I always remember. I mean, I don't forget these ones specifically.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go first for suggestions. I have 4 suggestions. My two Dracula suggestions are Bram Stoker's Dracula, the one with Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves from the 90s. And I'm also going to suggest Ed Wood. If you've never seen Ed Wood, Martin Landau plays Bela Lugosi in it. He won the Academy Award for playing Bela Lugosi. It's about the famous B movie director Ed Wood, who made the worst movies ever. Johnny Depp plays him, but a lot of it is based around Martin Landau and Bela Lugosi and his legacy of playing Dracula and all of that.
Cool.
So definitely worth that. That's Tim Burton directed that one. Then my Frankenstein suggestion is there are a million different Frankenstein takes and all of that, but the most recent one that I really loved was Birth Rebirth. You can stream that on Shudder. Excellent. And then the only real movie you should ever be watching about monsters is about some kids who are part of a squad in the 80s. You got to watch Monster Squad. Monster Squad. It's the best.
I almost just put that as a suggestion just for you, Brian, just to say, but
give me the amulet, you bitch. Squad. Bogus. It's just classic.
Wolfman's got nards.
Wolfman's got nards.
Hilarious. I'll go next. It's super easy, super quick, but I just wanted to think of 2024 similar movies within the vein of Dracula and Frankenstein. So Abigail for Dracula and Lisa Frankenstein for Frankenstein. So.
Great.
Jamie? Yeah.
I'm going to go with the ones that I said earlier because that's just what I was thinking about while watching these movies. So for Dracula, Renfield, and for Frankenstein, Young Frank.
Great.
Also great. Yeah.
I love it.
Fantastical. Well, that wraps up our episode, our Halloween episode. Happy Halloween again, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Yes. That was gorgeous.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Thanks for listening. This was Dracula and Frankenstein. You can follow us on all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, at Talk Horror Pod. And producer Brian, where can they listen to us?
You can listen to us literally wherever you get podcasts. So if that's YouTube, we're there. Hi, YouTube.
What up?
If you are listening on Spotify, yeah, we're there. And if you're an Apple boy and Apple girl and an Apple, if you're an
Apple orchard,
in an Apple orchard, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And
thank you.
I know. What's that? Isn't there the little 90s toy or 80s toy that made the noise? The noise. I don't know what it's called.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm by myself. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
Like a rain stick?
I'll find it and I'll send it to you guys. But it's like this annoying little noise that there were these like ghosts that people had in their houses or outside, and like
Oh,
every time you
yes.
walked past it or hit it,
Uh-huh,
it
I
like
know
made
exactly
that
what
little
you-
high pitched.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's like a little ghost that hangs, and there's like the ghost, the weight of the ghost is like a sound box.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I totally know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Jamie's still like, don't know, but I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna send it to you, and then you'll be like, oh, okay. But anyway, that's our
Cool.
episode, guys.
I love it.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.